Hey, everyone! Welcome back to Mimi Horror Stories. Tonight, we're bringing you another episode of spine-tingling horror tales set against the calming sound of rain. So, get comfortable, hit that like button, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. It was a chilly morning in Ocean City, Maryland, when I decided to head out for an early surf. The waves were decent, and the beach was relatively empty, which was exactly how I liked it. The fog was rolling in, casting a thick veil over the water, but I didn't think much of it. As I paddled out, the fog seemed to grow denser, making it harder to see very far. I was just starting to catch a few good waves when I noticed a figure riding a wave not too far from me. The silhouette looked like a surfer, but something was off. The figure was moving smoothly, almost too smoothly, through the waves. I thought it was unusual, but kept paddling. The more I watched, the stranger it seemed. The figure didn't seem to have a surfboard, just gliding effortlessly over the water. I tried to get a closer look, but as I did, the figure vanished into the fog. I looked around, but there was no sign of anyone else in the water. The fog was so thick now that I could barely see beyond a few feet. I decided to head back to the shore, feeling a chill that had nothing to do with the temperature. When I got out of the water, I mentioned the encounter to a few locals at a nearby cafe. Their reactions were immediate. They told me about the legend of the Phantom Surfer of Ocean City. According to the story, the ghostly surfer appears on foggy mornings, riding the waves with an otherworldly grace. The apparition is said to be a surfer who tragically died in an accident while riding the waves. Hearing the story sent shivers down my spine. It seemed I had encountered the very ghost they had spoken of. To this day, whenever I see fog rolling in over the ocean, I can't help but wonder if I might catch another glimpse of the Phantom Surfer. It was a quiet evening at Hampton Beach in New Hampshire, and I decided to take a solitary walk along the shore. The sun was setting, casting long shadows over the sand, and the beach was mostly deserted. The calm and the gentle sound of the waves made it a perfect evening for a peaceful stroll. As I walked, I noticed the beach getting darker and the fog beginning to roll in from the ocean. The fog was so thick, it almost felt like a curtain was being drawn over everything. I could barely see more than a few feet ahead, which added an eerie, almost surreal quality to the scene. Out of the mist, I saw a figure approaching. At first, I thought it was a fellow beachgoer, but as the figure came closer, I realized something was off. The person appeared to be moving slowly, and seemed to be wearing old-fashioned clothing, almost like something from another era. The figure had a ghostly, translucent quality about it. I felt a shiver run down my spine as I tried to make out more details, but as I did, the figure seemed to fade in and out of visibility. It moved with an unsettling grace, as if it was both there and not there at the same time. I stood frozen, unable to move or speak. Just as suddenly as it had appeared, the figure began to dissolve into the fog. I blinked, and it was gone. I looked around the beach, but there was no sign of anyone else or anything that could explain what I had just seen. When I got home, I researched the area and learned about the local legend of the specter of Hampton Beach. According to the stories, this ghostly figure is often seen wandering the shore, believed to be a soul lost in a tragic event from the past. That night remains etched in my memory. The encounter with the specter was a haunting reminder of how the past can sometimes reach out from the fog and touch the present in the most unexpected ways. It was a chilly autumn evening when I decided to take a walk along Cape May Beach in New Jersey. The sun had just set, and the sky was a deep shade of indigo. The beach was relatively empty, with only a few scattered lights from the nearby boardwalk breaking the darkness. As I walked along the shore, the sound of the waves crashing was soothing, but there was an odd quietness to the night. The wind was picking up, and the temperature seemed to drop suddenly. I noticed the air felt heavier, almost as if something was pressing down on me. Just as I was about to turn back, I saw a figure up ahead, walking along the beach. At first, I thought it was another late-night wanderer, but as I got closer, I realized the figure was different. The person was wearing what looked like old-fashioned clothing, and there was a strange, almost luminescent quality to them. I called out to the figure, but they didn't respond. They continued walking, their pace steady but unhurried. I tried to catch up, but the figure seemed to glide over the sand, never getting any closer despite my efforts. As I approached, the figure started to fade, becoming more and more translucent. Before I could fully comprehend what was happening, the figure completely disappeared into the night. I stood there, stunned and unsettled, scanning the beach for any sign of where the person might have gone. There was no trace of them, just the gentle roar of the waves and the cold wind. Later, when I shared my experience with locals, they told me about the legend of the haunted beach of Cape May. According to the story, a ghostly figure often appears on the shore, believed to be the spirit of someone who died tragically in a shipwreck or some other accident many years ago. That night, the ghostly encounter left me with an eerie sense of unease. Cape May Beach had proven to be more than just a picturesque spot. It was a place where the past and present seemed to merge, and where the spirits of history might still wander the sands. It was a warm summer evening when I decided to take a leisurely stroll along Waikiki Beach in Hawaii. The sun had just dipped below the horizon, leaving a soft glow on the water and casting long shadows over the sand. The beach was tranquil, with only a few scattered beachgoers and the gentle sound of the waves lapping at the shore. As I walked, the cool ocean breeze felt refreshing, and I was enjoying the peaceful ambience. However, as the night grew darker, I noticed a figure moving along the shoreline in the distance. The figure was dressed in what looked like old-fashioned swimwear, and something about the appearance struck me as odd. I approached the figure, curious but slightly uneasy. As I got closer, I could see that the figure was a woman, but she seemed oddly translucent, almost as if she was made of mist. Her face had a mournful expression, and she seemed to be walking with a slow, deliberate gait. I called out to her, but she didn't respond. I tried to get closer, but the closer I got, the more her form seemed to waver and fade. When I was just a few feet away, she suddenly vanished into the darkness, leaving only the sound of the waves and a lingering sense of cold. I stood there for a moment, trying to process what I had just seen. When I got home, I looked up the history of Waikiki Beach and discovered that there were tales of a ghostly figure that roamed the sands. The legend spoke of a woman who had drowned in the waters long ago, and her spirit was said to still wander the beach, searching for something or someone. That night left me with an unsettling feeling. The encounter with the ghostly figure of Waikiki Beach was a stark reminder of how the past can sometimes come back to haunt the places we think we know well. It was supposed to be a routine sailing trip through the Bermuda Triangle, a place shrouded in mystery and myth. The day started out perfectly clear skies, calm seas, and a light breeze. I had always been intrigued by the legends of this infamous stretch of ocean, but I never imagined I would experience anything firsthand. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, the tranquility of the day began to change. A dense fog started rolling in, creeping over the water like a living entity. The once clear view was quickly swallowed by the thick, impenetrable mist. The temperature dropped noticeably, and an eerie silence settled over the sea. Then, through the swirling fog, I saw it, the silhouette of a massive ship. It was unlike anything I had ever seen, an ancient vessel with towering sails and tattered rigging, straight out of a bygone era. The ship seemed to be floating effortlessly, almost as if it was suspended between reality and some otherworldly realm. My heart raced as I steered my boat closer, the ship slowly coming into clearer view. The closer I got, the more details emerged: weathered wood, ghostly figures moving on deck, but no sounds. The sight was both captivating and terrifying. It was as if the ship was a relic from another time, appearing only for those brave or foolish enough to venture into its path. Just as I was about to hail the ship, hoping to make contact or at least get a better look, something bizarre happened. The ship began to dissolve into the fog, its once solid form flickering and wavering like a mirage. I watched in disbelief as it gradually vanished, leaving behind only the dense, impenetrable fog and an oppressive silence. The sudden disappearance of the ship left me feeling profoundly shaken. The fog seemed to close in around me, and for a moment, I felt utterly alone in the vast, enigmatic expanse of the Bermuda Triangle. My heart pounded as I quickly made my way back to shore. When I finally reached land, I learned that the Bermuda Triangle is notorious for these spectral sightings, ships that appear from nowhere and vanish without a trace. My encounter with the ghostly vessel was a chilling reminder of the secrets that lie hidden in the depths of this infamous region. It was as if I had brushed against the edge of a legend, forever etched in my memory. It was a breezy summer evening when I decided to visit Robert Moses Beach on Long Island, New York. I'd heard the whispers about its eerie reputation, but I brushed it off as local legend. Still, the idea of a ghostly presence intrigued me enough to check it out for myself. The beach was nearly deserted, with only a few scattered beachgoers and the gentle roar of the waves breaking the silence. As twilight approached, the once vibrant sky turned a deep shade of purple, and the first stars began to appear. The ambience was serene, but an inexplicable chill was in the air. The figure was a woman in what looked like vintage swimwear from the 1920s. Her clothes fluttered with the breeze, and though her face was obscured by the darkness, she seemed to be looking directly at me. My curiosity got the better of me, so I approached, calling out to her. As I drew nearer, the woman remained still, her gaze unwavering. The closer I got, the more unsettling the scene became. Her figure seemed almost translucent, like she was made of mist. The realization that I was looking at something not quite real made my skin crawl. Just as I was about to reach out, the woman suddenly turned and began walking away from me, moving with an unnaturally smooth glide over the sand. I followed, my heart racing, but as I did, she began to fade into the encroaching darkness. Her form became less distinct, until she was swallowed by the night and the fog. I stood there in stunned silence, trying to make sense of what I had just seen. The fog rolled in thicker, obscuring the beach, and making the world seem even more isolated. The tranquil evening had turned into an unnerving experience that I couldn't quite shake. When I later talked to locals, they told me about the ghostly woman who haunts Robert Moses Beach. According to legend, she's a spirit from the early 20th century, lost to the sea and forever wandering the shore in search of something or someone. That night, the haunting presence of Robert Moses Beach was no longer just a story. It was an encounter that left me with an eerie feeling and a chilling reminder that some legends might just have a touch of truth. It was a late summer evening when I decided to visit Jekyll Island in Georgia. The island was known for its picturesque landscapes and historic charm, but I had heard rumors of strange occurrences, particularly around the beach. Skeptical but intrigued, I figured it would make for an interesting evening. I arrived just as the sun was setting, casting an orange glow over the island. The beach was nearly deserted, with only the occasional gust of wind rustling through the tall grass. I walked along the shore, enjoying the tranquility and the sound of the waves gently lapping against the sand. As twilight deepened, the atmosphere started to change. The peacefulness turned to an unsettling quiet, and the shadows on the beach grew longer and darker. The air grew cooler, and the once clear sky was now obscured by thick, rolling clouds. Then I saw a figure standing alone by the water's edge. At first, it looked like a person, but something about the figure was off. The shape seemed vaguely human, but was shrouded in an ethereal mist that made it hard to discern any details. The figure was dressed in old-fashioned clothing, reminiscent of the early 20th century, and seemed to be gazing out toward the horizon. My curiosity got the better of me, so I approached cautiously. As I got closer, the figure remained motionless, and a chill ran down my spine. I tried to call out, but my voice felt muffled, as if swallowed by the encroaching darkness. The figure didn't respond, and I noticed it seemed to be glowing faintly, its edges shimmering in the dim light. Suddenly, the figure began to move, gliding slowly across the sand toward me. My heart raced, and I took a step back. The figure moved with a ghostly grace, and as it drew nearer, its form began to fade in and out of visibility, like a mirage. Before I could react, the figure vanished into the night, leaving only the sound of the waves and the oppressive silence. I was left standing there, stunned and unnerved. The once tranquil beach now felt ominous and foreboding. Later, when I spoke with locals, they told me about the haunting legend of Jekyll Island. According to the story, the ghostly figure is a spirit from the early 20th century, a soul lost to a tragic event who now wanders the island, forever trapped between worlds. That night on Jekyll Island was a chilling encounter that turned a peaceful stroll into a brush with the supernatural. The experience left me with an unsettling sense that some places, despite their beauty, carry the echoes of the past in ways that are both mysterious and haunting.